So I'm going to skip down here, and I'm going to end up deleting those sentences up there. But just to kind of give you an idea of how this works, if you've never done any kind of expressions, we have to do it a specific way. So what we're going to do is we're going to say if, but we're going to have to use a lowercase. If we use a capital I, then it's going to tell us, it's going to give us an error. So we're going to do if, and then our condition, what we want to test, we're going to put it in parentheses. So beginning parentheses, and I'm going to type in exactly what our Blender control is named, which is Blender control. And then I'm going to tell it what attribute to test or to check. So I'm going to put a dot and then the attribute name, which is Blender speed. Now if you remember, we added Blender speed as an attribute. So we've got Blender control, which that's the name of our circle that we created. And then the attribute that we added is Blender speed. And we've got both of those separated with a period. All right. Equals to 0 in parentheses. So everything in parentheses is what it's going to test. So if Blender control.BlenderSpeed equals 0, then it's going to do something. Okay. Right now I have one equal sign. One equal sign basically tells Maya to make what's on the left the same value as what's on the right. So if we did this, Maya is going to make this Blender control.BlenderSpeed. It's going to make that Blender speed equal to 0. And we don't want that. We just want it to check to see if it is 0, not to actually make it 0. So if you want to do a comparison, you need to put two equal signs. All right, the next thing is we need to tell if that's true, then what do we want Maya to do? We want Maya to say our off button dot rotate X, and rotate needs to be in all lowercase, and then I put X as a capital X. So if our Blender control is equal to 0, then our off button dot rotate X, make it equal to 40. And if you remember correctly, if we take the off button and we rotate around the X axis 40 degrees, then that's going to make our off button look like it's been pushed down. So basically we just told Maya that if our Blender control, if the Blender speed attribute is equal to 0, then go ahead and make our off button push down, or basically just rotate it around the X axis 40 degrees. Okay, now since that's not the only thing I want it to do, I'm going to go back right in front of off button and I'm going to add a bracket. So now anything that's going to be inside that bracket is going to be several different things that we can tell Maya to do. Without the brackets, it just needs to be 1. But if you put in between brackets, then we can put as much stuff as we want. So let's go ahead and do another one. We want the off button to look like it's pressed down, but we also want the slow button dot rotate X. We want it to look like it's not pushed down, so I'm going to make that equal to 0. And then we want our medium button dot rotate X equal to 0 because we want it to look like it's not pushed down. And our last one, which is our fast button dot rotate X equal to 0. Semicolon. And that's all the stuff I want Maya to do when our Blender speed is equal to 0. So I'm going to go ahead and, since I have a beginning bracket, I'm going to put an end bracket, hit enter. Okay, now we put all that on one line. Because it's all on one line, it just kind of makes it harder to read, but we can make it a little more simpler to see and follow along what's going on by kind of separating this out. So I'm going to go up here after our Blender speed equals 0. I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to hit tab. I'm going to go after the bracket, hit enter, tab. After our off button, rotate X equals 40, after the semicolon. Between each action, or after every action, you need to put a semicolon. Okay, I'm going to hit enter. Put another one after the slow, enter, tab. Another one after fast, enter, tab. And separate that bracket. So basically what I did was I didn't change anything. All I did was just reorganize the layout of it to make it easier to read. So now if we look at this, the top line, we've got if our blender control equals 0, and then you see our beginning bracket, our end bracket, and it's easy to see all the different stuff we're telling it to do. So it's just a lot easier to see what's going on. All right, so let's go down one more time. Let's go if blender control dot blender speed is equal to 1, which is our low speed. I hit enter, tab, beginning bracket, hit enter button, tab, and now I'm just going to start listing all the stuff I want to do. So let's do all the buttons first. Off button dot rotate X. We want the off button, the X rotation, to be 0 because we want it to look like it's not pushed down. Slow button dot rotate X equals a 40. So we want our slow button, since a blender speed of 1 is the slow speed, we want our slow button to look like it's pushed down. So the slow button dot rotate X, we want it equal to 40. Next, we want the medium button dot rotate X equals 0, and the fast button dot rotate X equal to 0. Now we also, if we got a speed of 1, since we want the 1, 2, and 3, we want the pen to be spinning. So I'm going to add another line. Pen dot rotate Y, because we want to change the Y value, equals, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm going to put a plus sign and then an equals. So what that means is it's going to take an equal sign, means whatever's on the left side, it's going to make that value equal to what's on the right side. But because I have a plus right there before the equal sign, it's not going to make the left side equal to the right side. It's going to make the left side, it's going to keep the value of the left side and just add to that value the value of the right side. So I'm going to say equals 10, semicolon. Now to explain this, when we run through an animation, at frame 1, it's going to look at this expression, and at frame 1, our rotate Y value is going to be 0. If we have a blender speed of 1, let's go and say we had the blender speed of 1 for our animation. Frame 1, our rotate Y value for our pen will be 0. At frame 2, it's going to add, okay, our rotate Y value is going to be 0, but it's going to add 10 to that value. So 0 plus 10 is 10. So now our rotate Y is going to be a value of 10 at frame 2. At frame 3, it's going to keep our rotate Y because we have that plus, and it's going to add 10 more to that value. So our rotate Y was 10, so now it's going to add 10 more to it, so now it'll be 20. So at frame 3, our rotate Y value will be 30. So as our animation plays on, our pen rotation Y value is going to be increasing by in increments of 10. So that's what will give the rotation of our pen. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on. I hope that wasn't too confusing. All right, the next one is going to be if blender control, and it looks like up here I typed it, I forgot an L. Blender control dot blender speed. If our blender speed equals 2, and you're probably starting to get the feel of this now. Off button dot rotate X equals 0, semicolon. Slow button dot rotate X equals 0, semicolon. Medium button dot rotate X equals 40, semicolon. And then our fast button dot rotate X is equal to 0. And then pen dot rotate Y plus equals, and this time we're going to do 20. So at 2 is medium speed. So at medium speed, we've got our medium button push down, and we've got our pen, our rotating around the Y, increasing in increments of 20. And again, what that's doing is, because we have that plus sign there, all it's doing is whatever frame we're on, it's adding the value of 20 to whatever the current value of Y is, instead of replacing that value.